All right. Well, thank you all for being here. This is the Transportation to Open Space Working Group for the Murchison Choice Neighborhood Plan. And this is the fifth of our 5 working groups that we've had over the last 3 days. So if I'm starting to lose my voice, that's probably why. But I thought since we only have a few folks here at this point, if we could just do like a quick round of introductions. So my name is Adam Rosa. I'm with Collabo Planning and Design. We're the planning coordinators for the Choice Neighborhood effort, which really means that we are working with the city and the community and other stakeholders to facilitate the process, take all the feedback into account and distill it to create the plan. So I'll tell you more about what the process is looking like and where we are overall, but why don't we go ahead and have everyone introduce themselves. Alicia, do you want to go first?
Sure, I will. So I'm in public services and I'm a stormwater project manager, special projects, and I'm currently working with the team on our multi-year watershed master planning effort. So we're studying the whole citywide, but Murchison Road corridor is in one of our watersheds that we're currently on.
Great.
So there's modeling and we're looking at creative, hoping that the consultants will come up with some creative solutions. And I'm personally very interested in kind of Green Street stuff. I've been involved in the Pearson Street Greenscape. So that's why I signed up for this one.
Great. Well, thank you for being here. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Why don't we go over to Candace next, please?
Hi, I actually go by Candy. I'm Candy Scott with the Partnership for Children of Cumberland County. And I am probably more interested in the open space part of this. I do have a background in creating outdoor learning environments for children. I'm also a member of the newly formed Fort Bragg and Cumberland County Food Policy Council. And I know that this group may be looking at urban farms and community gardens. So I would definitely want to make sure there was some connection with this group and the Food Policy Council. So I thought it'd be a good idea that I attend this meeting.
Awesome. Thank you for being here again, Candy. It's good to see you again. Let's go over to Harold.
Hello, I'm Harold Ignacio, Fayetteville Fire Department. I'm a fire and life safety educator. I'm glad to be here. I'm more interested in like open space and parks and whatnot. You know, to have kids there and enjoy themselves. So I'm happy to be here. I'm glad that this is coming together. So yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, Harold. We're happy to have you. Okay, looks like Anthony Ramsey joined us. Anthony, you want to say hello?
Hello. How you doing?
Good.
Anthony Ramsey. Happy New Year.
You too.
Anthony Ramsey, Parks and Rec.
Oh, great.
Yeah, we just want to get in and just sit back and watch as everything develop. And if we see anything that's wrong, we speak up and help out.
Great. Thank you for being here, Anthony. Appreciate it. Okay. Well, like I said, we're probably going to have a few more people joining us, I imagine, within the next hour. But I want to kind of go ahead and get us started. And I know some of you are pretty familiar with what we're doing here with Choice Neighborhoods, but I thought it would be a good opportunity to just take 5 minutes or so to go through an overview, introduction. So at any point, if you'd like to put some feedback in the chat, you can do that, and we'll be looking at taking that into account. Or if you'd like to send me an email during the meeting or after the meeting with more information, you can go ahead and do that, adam@collaboplanning.com. All right. So this Choice Neighborhoods Planning Grant is a HUD program that really looks at these 3 pillars. It's focused on these 3 elements: people, housing, and neighborhoods. So while it grew out of more traditional HUD public housing programs, what it does is take a very comprehensive look at not only redesigning and redeveloping a quote unquote distressed public housing site, but doing it in the centerpiece of a larger neighborhood improvement effort, where we're looking at connectivity and parks and open spaces and programs, supporting local businesses. And then the people element is really the supportive services and the quality of life projects that are going to come out of the plan. So we were one of 11 cities nationwide to win the planning grant in 2020. And that gives us a 2-year-long period to create what they call a transformation plan. Once we're completed with that period, we can apply for an implementation grant, which could be up to, at this point, it's up to $50 million to start to rebuild housing, do neighborhood improvement programs, and then the people projects as well. So this is kind of the starting point of a larger effort overall. So our team is really centered on the Fayetteville Metropolitan Housing Authority and the city of Fayetteville. They're the applicants and the co-applicants. We also have our community ambassadors, which I'm assuming a few of them may join in here shortly. Hold on 1 second. Mute everybody. Yeah, so we have 4 community ambassadors that are residents of the Murchison neighborhood, and they've been with us from the beginning and really focused on improving outreach, providing kind of the pulse of the neighborhood during our working sessions and meetings. We also have a steering committee that's made up of a number of different organizations and partners, and they're kind of our sounding board for the project ideas. And then Collabo is my firm, which is the planning coordinator. We're playing the role of the facilitator and capturing all this great information and turning it into a plan. So the area that we're focused on is really the Murchison Road corridor and the surrounding neighborhoods, from just beyond Fayetteville State University at the south end to just north of Country Club Drive on the north end in Pemberley Drive. And so that also includes the former Walmart property. And it goes east to west about to Cross Creek and Little Cross Creek, which kind of encircle the neighborhood on either side. There's about a little under 7,000 residents that live in this particular footprint, and that's a 3 square mile area. It's an opportunity zone, and it's also a neighborhood revitalization strategy area. And so what we've really been focused on is an asset-based planning approach where we're identifying and building upon the good things that already exist in the neighborhood. And from a transportation open space perspective, things like the Smith Recreation Center and Fayetteville State University, I think that there's a lot of untapped potential in the natural areas around, kind of on the edges of the neighborhood along the creeks. And then we also have all the schools that play a major role in the community as well. And then things like the Lake Pines Swim Club, which is a private entity, but could be tapped for greater recreational use and providing a new space for people in the neighborhood to be able to use. So the centerpiece of our effort is the Murchison Townhouse property, which is the FMHA site that's kind of circled in orange here. And that site itself was built in 1970, has about 60 units of public housing, and it's kind of reached the end of its lifespan. So what we're looking to do is to redevelop or rebuild those units either on property or in other areas of opportunity, preferably in the neighborhood. But it will be a 1-for-1 replacement of those units. So we're not going to lose any very low income units. But one of the goals of choice is to create a mixed income community. So blending the 60 units with additional affordable and market rate units to create really a more viable community in the long run. So we're just at the beginning point of kind of developing the housing plan, and that we want that to happen in tandem with some of these other neighborhood improvements that we're going to propose. But one thing I should note is that the current FMHA property, it has a small Head Start center, which is this building right in the center of the shot here. And it used to have a playground next to it, but there's no longer a playground there. So in essence, there's really no usable recreation space for the 60 families that live on the site today. And we've heard from the residents of the townhouses that that's really a challenge, especially for the young people that live there. And it's not really walkable to anything else, any other, reasonable parks or any places for people to really get recreation. So I think that's a big challenge that we have overall. And we want to address it at the smaller scale, but also at the larger neighborhood scale. So that's why I'm excited to have you all here today. So it's a 2-year-long process, as I mentioned. We're kind of right in the middle, strategies, programs, and projects. So from here, we'll move into those distinct kind of people housing neighborhood elements. And then in about 5 months, we have our draft plan that's due to HUD. And then we'll have 6 months to refine the plan to create the final version, which is due in November of this year. Our 5 working groups, as I mentioned, there's a lot of overlap between the ideas and the strategies that are starting to come out of these groups. So we've had history, equity, and inclusion, housing and commercial development, education and job training, and earlier today we had safety and security, and now we're on to our 5th and final group. So thank you all for being here. So the meeting today, we're going to be looking at what's working and what's not, thinking about on a higher level desired outcomes, and some initial strategy ideas. The second meeting, we'll take that list of strategies and projects and start to rank it and prioritize it. And then by the third meeting, we want to be able to start to highlight different partners and resources that might be able to help that project, whatever it is, kind of come to fruition. So I shared with you all in the email that went out some background information about the neighborhood, a lot of data and feedback, what we've been hearing over the last year. I sent the meeting schedule and then the worksheet that we're gonna kind of go through today in real time. So that is the presentation portion. Now we get to the fun part. So let me open up our virtual bulletin board here. Okay, so this is called a Mural Board, and it's an online platform that allows you to do basically these kind of meetings in real time by posting little sticky notes, moving things around, kind of zooming in, zooming out. So as you can see, we have everything in one sheet here. So these are the 4 working groups that we've had over the last few days, and all of the different ideas and things that have come out of those particular groups. So it's our job to kind of take the last column here, which is transportation and open space. And a few notes that kind of came out of our earlier steering committee meetings on this particular topic, I just wanted to share with you all. I think it was brought up early in the meeting, but the notion of trying to create one or more community gardens in the neighborhood with above ground planters for fruit and vegetables, something that's very secure and sustainable, not something that's just going to go into great fanfare and then not really be sustained over the long term. What I talked about previously, the playground, the lack of playground at Murchison Townhouses, thinking about public art, sculpture, and what role that can play and perhaps changing people's impressions of the community. There's some upgrades that may happen to the Wall of Honor mural, which is the mural over by Fayetteville State University. And we have a little free library program that's going to be rolling out here in the spring. We're going to be installing probably 19 little free library, which are those kind of like mailboxes, but you can take a book, leave a book. Each of those libraries will be painted and designed by people from the neighborhood. And we're working with our ambassadors to create a theme for what that should be. And it's looking like it's going to focus on the history of Fayetteville and the significance of the city. So those are just some things that have kind of come up out of our earlier steering committee meetings. But now's the time I just want to kind of hear from you all about some things that you think are working and maybe not working in the neighborhood. And so I have it broken into the 2 topic areas here, but we can kind of jump around. So for transportation, a couple questions that we had were, how do local residents feel about walking, biking, driving, or riding transit in the neighborhood? And, what have you heard from people that try to get around, and what are some of the challenges? What may be working? Where are improvements most needed for transportation? And then for open space, how are residents utilizing parks and open spaces within the neighborhood? What types of open spaces or recreational areas may be missing? And I would also say recreational programs. We've heard a lot in previous discussions about the lack of kind of programs for all ages, from youth all the way up to senior. And then how are residents connected to parks and open spaces? So I'm just going to open it up here. Looks like we got 6 people on the call, and you all are experts in one or more of these topics, or you have an interest in these topics. So I'm just curious, from your point of view, what do you think is working in the neighborhood, and where are some changes needed around transportation and open space? So anyone would like to get us started? If not, I'm going to call on somebody. Alicia.
Oh, I knew you were going to call me.
Well, you were unmuted.
No, I was going to say, give me a minute to collect my thoughts.
Okay.
Yeah, give me a few minutes.
Sure, no problem.
Want to make sure I'm in the right area. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
I guess
like to,
I can. Oh, I'm sorry.
I like to have one comment.
Yes, go ahead, Anthony.
Okay, being in Parks and Rec, we want to see a community that can, you ride your bike, you can walk to downtown, and more connectivity to something. I know you kind of create things in this community, so we can create things that have a destination to the park or to downtown and things like that.
Mhm.
And and one of the over at Washington Lane, is it Washington Lane or Washington Drive site, they're going to be ready to we got a project going on there, and then we got several projects that's going to be happening on Murchison Road, things like that. Just having they can walk, make it walkable, bikeable, just connectivity.
I agree. Having a bike trail or like a walking trail, in between those, having parks or having murals, statues and whatnot, but just having a trail that connects, kind of like veins in the human body, just connecting trails and parks and rec centers, for example, with trails or bike trails and whatnot.
Mhm.
And having a inset, having getting connected to restaurants or little strip malls and whatnot.
And also we have a project on the board on the Big Cross Creek Trail going to be coming through that area. So that's a point that we need to make sure that make that aware. We could have some lands off of that we can use for parks and things like that.
Yeah, that's an important one. I think that's really going to help unlock potential in the southern part of the neighborhood.
Correct.
It's my understanding that's going to come across around like Filter Plant Road. Is that right?
Okay, that's Little Cross Creek.
Okay.
So we got really two treat. I mean, I'm hungry, thinking about something to eat. 2 trails and 2 creeks. I kept saying treat, but anyway, 2 trails that that's coming in. They're gonna tie in at Washington Drive, and on that corner of Washington Drive, you're gonna have the Martin Luther King Park, which is gonna be a nice park, and then you're gonna have a fitness center on Filter Plant and Murchison Road. So you're gonna be some interest of some points that places can, people who working out can walk to it and be part of their fitness and things like that. Going to the fitness place and then walking back home, things like that.
Yep.
So
a friend of mine has created a community garden already on Coley Drive.
Coley Drive.
Coley Drive, down from Fairfield State Apartments. It's right there in the back. He created a community garden, and he's trying to get some of the neighborhood people to start planting their vegetables and everything over there.
You
Is
know
that
what size is it?
Say what now?
I mean, how many acres you got over there?
I think it's about an acre over there. It's
Oh,
right
okay.
across, it's right down from the apartment, going along the street, right behind some houses back over there. He had cleared out the land, had some people to clear out land, and they already put the boxes and everything out there already.
Oh, okay.
Uh-huh.
That's great. And so that's just recent. That just happened last summer, right?
Say that again?
That's just recently put in there from
Yes.
last summer?
Yes.
Mhm.
You're right. Mhm.
That's great. That's great. So I had a question about the fitness center that's going in on Filter Plant. Is that kind of an all ages facility, or is that focused on for seniors?
No, it's for seniors.
Okay, that's what I thought. I
That's
just
what they
wasn't
call it,
sure.
Senior Center West, but I don't know. We may program other things out of there, but you know, we don't know. I mean, right now it's supposed to be for seniors.
Yep. Okay. Any new programs coming to Seabrook Park or the Smith Rec Center?
No, I can't name anything right offhand. If I get anything, I'll email you. But I
Okay.
know we're trying to renovate the ball field. There's some of the things we want to do over there. Bring the ball field up to a better, higher standards than it is now.
Uh-huh.
What about the tennis center, Anthony?
Oh yeah, the tennis center. That's on. The tennis center would be up Filter Plant before you get to Bragg Boulevard. That's coming, which is going to be another project. It's going to be a nice project. It's going to be overlooking the Glenville Lake, and the pro shop will be overlooking the Glenville Lake.
Uh-huh.
And then also, there's a trail, Magic Trail, because I think Michael mentioned trying to connect some kind of connection to Madrid Trail.
Yep.
Go to the, I guess it would be the east side of the lake, and work your way back around towards the filter plant. And then
Yeah, I think-
maybe go ahead.
No, I was going to say that I think that's critical, and it's something that I know that some of the neighbors have been really talking about, is how to create access to Glenville Lake from the Murchison corridor.
Right.
Because right now you wouldn't even know it was there unless
That's correct.
unless you GPSed your way around the other side.
Right. So that's one of the things that we were looking at.
Yeah.
And it may be some right of way that we can come through and tie in from the right of way to Murchison Road. There's a couple of right of ways that they're not abandoned, but it's nothing there. But the right of way is there, just overgrown, that we can do some tie-ins.
So I was just in a meeting with DOT, and we were talking about this U4900 project, STIP project that they've got coming up.
Mhm.
Are y'all aware of that?
Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, and I'm not that familiar with Fayetteville, but let's see, you've mentioned the mommy's moment after school care, the daycare there. Just before you get to the big intersection, I think it's Pamela Drive.
Mhm.
Yeah, so there's some, I don't think they're gonna improve the intersection there.
Oh,
So,
you're talking about the NCDOT
yeah,
roadway project.
tip-
Yeah.
the TIP project, and I
Yep.
don't think it, I don't know how it plays into this is a different discussion, but I just wanted to make sure that it's, I figured you were aware of it. We were actually
Yeah.
looking at one of those empty properties but we would I don't think we're thinking about storing stormwater. I think we were just gonna try piping over. So
Mhm.
that's what I was
Yeah.
looking for. Are there places where we were thinking about detaining stormwater? But it wouldn't necessarily be a recreational thing, but
Right. Yeah, that's an interesting project. We've been in coordination with them because some of their, well, it really runs through the northern part of Murchison Road down to past Country Club, right about to the Murchison Townhouse property. And some of their initial configurations of that intersection were kind of problematic from a livability point of view. So what they were doing was thinking about routing traffic through this kind of larger circular interchange type configuration that came very close to the homes at Murchison Townhouses. So we honestly we pushed back a little bit, and I think that's led to them reconsidering the design of that intersection and hopefully doing something that's a little bit more context sensitive, rather than trying to route all this traffic through in a neighborhood that frankly has very low income residents. It's kind of it's a social justice issue. So we've definitely been in coordination with them on that particular project.
I know there were some we walked up it and looked at intersections and, changes to intersections to protect health and safety, basically. Because I think when you're saying what's not working, they've got some troubling intersections along Murchison corridor that
Yeah.
I they didn't give numbers, but yeah, people have gotten killed biking
Yeah.
or walking.
Yeah, it's a tough place to be a pedestrian, especially if you're trying to cross the street. Traffic's moving very fast. There's very few, signalized crossings. And honestly, like the sidewalks and the street lighting aren't really up to par either. So those are all things that we're hoping can see some improvement.
Yeah. And we were actually hoping that they would do more traffic calming instead of opening it up and letting traffic, go
Yeah.
through at high speeds. I don't know where they landed on that, but that's really what they need to do.
Yeah. Agreed.
I'd like to throw a couple things out there.
Yeah, go for it.
So I've only been in Fayetteville about 5 years, and one of the first things I noticed when I got here is the lack of trees. So when we're talking about walkability, I think most people think about, just having sidewalks and making sure you have crosswalks and signals at intersections. But I also think some of the deterrents for people choosing to walk or walking is how uncomfortable it might be when it's hot. So, planting trees does help as far as shade. And that goes for the trails as well. I know that there are some trails here that I won't go to in the summertime because there's no shade.
Yeah.
So just, as we're thinking about these things, I would like us to think about things like trees, planting trees. The other thing that I wanted to just bring out is when we talk about in the open spaces having playgrounds, you see a lot of playgrounds that just have this like manufactured playground equipment. And that's not the only way you can go with playgrounds. A lot of times children get bored with those pieces of equipment. And then they get bored, they try to do other things that that the equipment wasn't built for, and then they end up getting injured. And then at some point parents start taking them. But there are other things that you can do in the environment than just putting playground equipment out there. You can actually use the environment to build play spaces that are more naturalized. The other thing is I also think that those play spaces might get more use if there's actually some facilitated play that's happening out there. In Great Britain, their communities have folks that are called play rangers that actually go out to the different playgrounds and facilitate play with children. I just, I've just seen so many playgrounds, not getting used because they're not interesting enough. So it's important to me that children spend time outside, that they're moving, that they're in nature and have a connection to nature. So making sure the environments around them are natural.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great point. I think we have such an opportunity here because there is quite a bit of nature within this neighborhood to create some unique environments that aren't just your typical play space, as you mentioned.
Yeah, in Utah, my brother lives out in Utah, so I spend quite a bit of time in Logan. And in their playgrounds, they've got a lot of water coming down from the mountains. And so they actually have creeks going through the playgrounds, and the children actually play safely in these creeks. So, I think people get a little bit scared about these kinds of things, but, children need to be able to take some risk so we can learn how to navigate through life. But yeah, I agree. If we can really take a good look at the environment and see what we can do to maybe preserve what's there and use it.
Yeah, I mean, as an outsider, when I first looked at the map of this area, the thing that stuck out to me was Cross Creek and Little Cross Creek going around the perimeter. And again, these are things that you don't notice when you're on the ground because there isn't any connection to it. But I think that's a real untapped resource to think about really creating access to those creeks.
Yeah, where you place these places that you want people to spend.
Yeah. So the trails that are planned along the creeks, is that just kind of going along a small portion of Little Cross Creek and Cross Creek, or is it really going to follow the creek through a long area of the neighborhood?
Well, actually, we're looking at almost Big Cross Creek. You're looking at from Fort Bragg all the way down to Murchison.
Okay, yeah, and would that be just like a gravel path or something more substantial?
No. Well, we got a preliminary design, and right now it's almost it's gonna be we're in the flood zone, so we look at a lot of boardwalk. It'll be boardwalk, and what's not boardwalk will be asphalt. It's gonna be on probably a 20-foot easement. Gonna be a 10-foot trail, 10-foot boardwalk wide. And bridges to cross over the drainage areas.
That sounds good. I'd love to be able to take a look at that if you don't mind sharing it, even if it's just a draft at this point. Is that something that you could share?
I can email it to you.
Okay. Yeah, please do. I just want to make sure that we have everything that's kind of currently underway and being planned.
Yeah.
So we can think about how to build off of that.
Yeah, and Little Cross Creek is coming from filter plant, gonna tie in Madrick Trail to MLK Park and come along behind the fitness center, senior center, and then tie into Washington Lane, and eventually that trail gonna continue on through MLK, around MLK statue, go to Blue Street, and then come back around to Murchison Road and go back up Murchison Road and cross over Murchison Road and be able to tie into downtown, go up under Rowan, and then tie you back on to on on that corner, we're doing the Veterans Park. So there'll be another feature that, you know, people can go and see and things like
Sure.
that.
Yeah, I want to make sure I capture that.
So it's Veteran Park Phase 2.
Yeah, that was something, what was brought up in one of our previous meetings, I think yesterday, was trying to activate MLK Park or kind of like highlight it, bring more people there to use it. It seemed at this point it's kind of tucked away.
Right.
But so I don't know if you have anything. Obviously, these trails connecting into it would make it more accessible. But are there any ideas about what else that could happen at MLK Park?
Yeah, on the backside, closer, they got the little cigarette place on the corner right now, and all that property in there, the city owned most of that across from the senior center, which is Senior Center East. And they talking about, it's been a master plan for years to put a nice, it's gonna be like an earth berm and all that with a museum inside of it. Right now, they working on that. It's gonna be a spear, whatever that's gonna be called, whatever that's gonna end up to being. But that behind the statue, they're gonna develop that, and then that's gonna be another. I don't know how it's gonna be, but right now they're talking about you can be able to go in, and then it's gonna be interacting things in there showing the history of the speeches and things like that. And
that's cool. It's the first I've heard of that.
Yeah, but I can send you also a copy of that.
Yeah, I'd love to see it.
So right now we're trying to figure out how we're gonna lay it out, because right now it's where it's supposed to be going. We got probably about 200-year-old trees there that we're trying to save. And we may have to back about 200 feet from those trees to try to save those trees and things like that. And we got one parcel that we need to buy and all that. So that's what we're working on right now.
Got it. Thank you. Thanks for sharing that. What about more on the transportation side of things? I've heard from residents that rely on the bus that, it isn't, obviously the frequencies are kind of low. It's hard to get from here to, say, a grocery store or other areas like that. So is there anything being proposed, or is there anything that we should be thinking about trying to make it easier for folks to get around?
Well, I know that we have had staff that have tried to get to work by taking the bus, but the scheduling just doesn't work with when they need to be at work. So they end up not taking the bus, which is unfortunate, because we're fortunate enough to have a bus stop near us.
Yeah.
But because the way the buses are scheduled and the infrequency, it does cause some problems.
Yeah. That's good insight. What about bicycling? How is the city approaching trying to create safer bicycle areas beyond like the off-street paths that have been talked about previously? Is there anything else going on, or anything that's being looked at to improve bikeability?
There's a bike and ped plan. I'm not that familiar with it. For our purposes in dealing with the stormwater, we've got a map that shows these different trails, the bike trail, the planning documents, pedestrian paths that are being recommended, different properties owned by the city and that kind of thing. And I can see if I can share that with y'all. It's a compilation of what's already available, so you might have it, but we do have a bike path plan, and I just can't tell you anything more about that.
Yeah.
Along Murchison corridor, that one document that I was just looking at, they have a multi-use path
Right.
in their design. On one side of the road, on one side of the road, they've got a 10-foot wide path. On the other, just a pedestrian sidewalk.
Yeah, I have seen that.
It'd be nice if it were more separated from the road.
Right.
Yeah, it's just like, I don't know, if they're gonna be driving, and it'd be nice if they had some traffic calming to accompany that, because
Yep.
it wouldn't be that comfortable to bike or walk if the traffic is going at a high speed. And
What
we
are,
did,
sorry, go ahead.
we did have one of our traffic engineer, Lee Jernigan, had signed up for this session. But I know he was dealing with some family issues yesterday, so I don't know. That's why he can't join us today.
Yeah, I see him on the list, so hopefully we can patch him in next time or
Mhm,
get his feedback.
mhm.
But yeah, I'm kind of just curious about other strategies or ideas for either transportation improvements or open space improvements. Are there certain programs that we think we should be trying to introduce in the neighborhood related to recreation that aren't there today?
I wanted to mention that Onslow County, their cooperative extension had created a discovery garden for children. And so that might be a good model.
Which county was that? Sorry.
Onslow,
Onslow.
yeah, Camp Lejeune is based.
Jacksonville. Too.
Jacksonville,
Okay.
yeah, I grew up there.
Mhm.
Yeah, so
Great. Yeah, we'll take a
yeah,
look at
and
that.
actually, I was able to find them money to pay for the landscape design
Mhm.
for that. So I do have some resources that I can tap into through my connections.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that.
Mhm.
Appreciate it. What else around transportation strategy? So we kind of just have traffic calming right now. Is there anything else that that we want to start brainstorming for strategies? And if not, that's okay. We can come back.
I think transportation is just a really hard one.
Yeah.
It's like we know it's an issue. We know that people aren't getting connected to things that they actually need because of transportation. But it requires a lot to put a good system in place.
One thing
And-
that oh, sorry, go ahead, Katie.
Well, I was going to say, and I just don't see Fayetteville being already kind of set up to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just as a visitor, one thing that I've struggled with is getting around at all without a car. Like trying to get an Uber can take like a half hour to 45 minutes sometimes. And so for me, that seems like it's kind of an untapped employment option almost. Like trying to get more people to be able to drive Ubers or Lyfts or whatever around town and get people here and there. It's even difficult to get from the airport to anywhere. They're usually out of rental cars when I arrive. So it's I don't know if it's so it's just something that I've noticed. Maybe it's something that could be improved or enhanced. All right. Well, I'm feeling like we're hitting the Wednesday afternoon wall a little bit here. So I just wanted to kind of have just another couple minutes, just in case anybody has anything else they'd like to share. If not, I'll start to add some of the additional project ideas that have come out of some of our other meetings to this worksheet, and we'll be sending it back out. And then the next meeting, we'll be looking at these strategies, there'll be additional strategies here, but we'll be ranking them and starting to prioritize them. But just want to make sure nobody has anything else they wanted to jump in on here.
Well, I was in the meeting yesterday and they had brought up a couple times about this kind of like Capitol building.
Yeah.
That would kind of be your one-stop shop. So I do think about being strategic on where you put things that people need access to is also a way to address transportation.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
So putting new
community, I think they were thinking of it like as a community resource center.
Yeah, right. But making sure that these types of spaces that are going to be high usage are in accessible locations.
Right. Yeah.
I think that's a desired outcome or a goal here. Yeah, that's a good point. Thank you for bringing that up. Okay, well, I think we've kind of reached the end of today's discussion. So thank you so much, everybody, for being here. Our next meeting, let me pull up the schedule real quick so everybody can see when that's going to be.
Yeah, sorry, Adam. This has been a day of probably the same for you, but I have not left my office. I've been sitting in front of my screen with the virtual meeting
Yeah,
all day long.
it can be a little exhausting for
Yeah,
sure. So
yeah.
I mean, maybe if things are able to die down a little bit with the Omicron, maybe we can do some of these future meetings in person and get it going a little bit that way. But
I know.
that-
I've done a lot of facilitation myself, and it's just so much more energizing when you're in the room together, right? I mean,
Yeah,
I love your system here, Mural.
thank
I
you.
like
Yeah,
Mhm.
appreciate that. It can be tough either way, but yeah, I think it's face-to-face is always preferred if we can do it. So we'll see. I mean, our next meeting is going to be planned for February 9th. If things change for the better between now and then potentially we'll try to meet in person. Otherwise, it'll be online again. And then by March 9th, we'll see again if we can pull everybody together in a room. That would be the goal, but I'll let everybody know ahead of time how that's looking. But it'll be the same time on a Wednesday, February 9th and March 9th. You all have the schedule as well. So I'm also going to be sending out these notes to the folks that weren't able to attend here today and kind of gently prodding them a little bit about helping to fill in some of the boxes on the worksheet and, just trying to flesh it out a little bit more. But again, just wanted to thank everybody for coming, and we really appreciate your feedback and hope that you can stay involved, because this is really going to lead into some true action implementation. And any of those background documents, if you're able to forward them my way, I greatly appreciate it. I'm putting my email in the chat again here.
Yeah. One thing I did notice when I was walking along Murchison corridor, there seemed to be a lot of not sure if it's homeless traffic or, just a lot of people. And I know it's, socioeconomically just, I don't know what the term is, but kind of a distressed area. But that would have to be, and I guess that's one of the other working groups, right? This was
brought up this morning in the safety working group, just about kind of folks that seem like they're either mentally ill or in their addictions, walking the streets in certain areas and creating an unsafe impression, at least for people that are moving through. So yeah, that was definitely something that was brought up, and I think that group wants to do what they can to work on that.
Yeah, yeah. And unfortunately that the the large amounts of open space might really be attracting campers and stuff. So I'm just throwing that up as,
Yeah, yeah, I'm not sure. I don't know if anybody has any insight. Like, I personally haven't seen homeless encampments in the neighborhood, but I haven't looked too hard either. So I'm sure they're out there.
yeah. I'll get that map to you that I mentioned. I've been looking for it, Adam, but I want to send you the most up-to-date one.
Yeah, I would appreciate that. Thank
Mhm.
you.
Yeah, and we're sharing it with Chris Colley as well.
Yep.
He doesn't have space to talk to us more right now for about 6 months, he said, but then he'll be freeing up because he's bringing on more help. So I
Yeah,
think
yeah,
that's,
he's got a few people coming on board here pretty soon. So yeah, I appreciate that, and thanks everybody for being here. And we will see you again either within a month, or we can also talk offline as well. So feel free to send me anything that as it comes up, and have a great rest of your week.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Bye, everybody.